Welcome once again to video 2 of this 3-video series on conflict resolution, where I'm sharing 8 principles that support your relationship in resolving conflict. So I've put the link below on the first video. If you haven't watched it, I suggest you watch that. Today we're going to look at the 3 other principles. The first one is I'm never upset for the reason I think I am. The second principle is about pushing buttons, and the last one is your why. So I'm going to look at these 3 principles today of the 8. So the first one is I'm never upset for the reason I think I am. Whatever you're fighting about, whatever the issue is, whether it's your mother-in-law or the kids or the way you do things or what you didn't do or have done or said or didn't do, we're never actually upset for that reason. There's usually something else under the surface that we're actually really upset about. And knowing that, how does that help you, knowing that? Because then when you realize that if I'm not upset for the reason I think I am, there's actually something deeper. I can go and investigate and inquire, okay, what's really going on here? And when you get to the nitty-gritty of things, often these satellite arguments that go around, they're usually connected to 1 or 2 or 3 fundamental things. So when you get to the core, the causative level, the real issue, a lot of other stuff just gets sorted out because they're just hooked into the fundamental issue. Like the other day, for example, it's really, really hot here at the moment. And when it's hot, my husband likes all the doors and windows closed because he feels that it keeps the cold in. I, on the other hand, want to open everything. I want to open all the doors and windows because I need air and I need to breathe. So, he got really upset the one day I came home, all the windows were closed, I'd been out, and I just came back and thought, no, I can't have these windows open. I just started opening all the doors and windows, and he got really upset with me. And it wasn't funny then. I'm laughing now because it feels funny. But it wasn't about whether the doors should be open or closed when it's hot. When we sat down later on and unpacked it and really got curious about, okay, what's going on? It was really the real issue was about control and respect and consideration, okay? And knowing that, we don't waste time dealing with stuff that actually isn't the issue. The other principle today that I want to talk about is why. Okay, why? Why are you going to practice these principles? Why are you going to move towards resolving conflict? Why are you going to have those courageous conversations? It's important to know why I'm doing something, because when things get really hard, I can remember, say, okay, why am I doing this? Why am I going to, have this difficult conversation, even though everything inside of me just wants to run away and close the door? Why am I going to turn around and show up instead of running away? Get clear on your why. Is your why in service to your relationship? Is your why in service to your children? Having parents that resolve things can really be of great service to your children, to have a more harmonious home, and also to teach them that conflict isn't bad and that there are ways to resolve it. Maybe your why is in service to, your inner child, that you can find the voice and find out what she needs and meet those needs in a way that she could never, as a child, she couldn't ask for what she wanted. She didn't have the capacity or the skill to engage. She was just a child. Maybe it's in service to healing. Maybe practicing conflict resolution is in service to all relationships, because we're all interconnected. If my beloved and I do the work and heal and deepen our relating, energetically, that frequency goes out into the field around us and affects other relationships. So your why can be as grand and as expansive, or as very simple as, I just want to get to know what my needs are and find ways of meeting my needs skillfully, for example. So your why. And the last principle today is about the button pushers, okay? The button pushers, it's not personal, but it really hurts. What do I mean by that? Okay. When we were children, we all had some kind of wounding or trauma, okay? All of us, no matter who or what, we had some kind of trauma or wounding in our childhood. And that results in patterns being laid down and that's unconsciously, of course, but those patterns keep repeating themselves throughout our lives until we actually become conscious and aware of them and make new choices. And those patterns are deep in our being, deep in our unconscious. But, existence was very clever because buttons are left behind that when they push or pushed by other, it creates a big ouch. It's like a tooth that's got a nerve exposed. Just a small touch and it's excruciating, okay? Some people also call them triggers. In other words, if, for example, okay, say I have a childhood wounding of feeling invisible, okay, just always feeling invisible and not seen. And maybe my husband, is the one that's got a childhood wound of feeling not heard, of always being looked over, your needs don't matter, you're not heard, he wasn't heard. So when we come together and we, deepen and start to relate, what happens is we push each other's buttons. I'm going to do something that's going to touch his ouch, and he'll get really upset and get reactive and angry because it's activating that childhood wound of not feeling heard. And maybe he'll do or say something, and I'll just shut down and I'll just disappear and I'll close off because it hits that wound of invisible and I become that. So in a way, it's almost not personal, but we attract the perfect mate who's going to push our buttons and almost trigger those wounds, those early wounds of childhood, and almost reactivate those wounds by pushing those buttons. And we know it's a button because there's a huge emotional outburst. We are reactive and we regress to a wounded child in a matter of seconds. We are no longer the adult. We actually have regressed to the wounded child. We are unreasonable, we are difficult, we are just, you can't reason, we're explosive, we shut down. It's not an adult that is there when our buttons get pushed, when we get triggered. So knowing that if my partner gets really upset, I've happened to push the button. And so what does that do? It helps me, that awareness creates space for more compassion, for more understanding, and for recognizing what's really going on so that I can respond in a more present, skillful, compassionate and loving way. And that goes for myself, for my beloved, and him towards me. It works both ways. So in today's video, we've looked at I'm never upset for the reasons I think I am. The other one is why. Why are you going to show up and resolve conflict in your relationship? Why are you going to practice these principles? And the last one is about recognizing when our buttons get pushed, when we get triggered. So I have one more video to share with you. I hope you'll join me for the last one. My name is Julia and I'm a life coach, and I really love and enjoy and get so delighted in supporting people on their journey. And conflict is a big one. We all have it. And if we can learn skillful ways to deal with it, it's going to create so much more happiness, less suffering, and so much more joy, intimacy, and connection. So join me for the last video.